Hey guys, what's up? So today we're going to look at this super affordable LTD EC-201 flat top, and I went ahead and put in one of the most ridiculously specced out humbucking pickups that you can get on the market, and we're going to see how it sounds, so stay tuned. Okay guys, so as you can see, I already have the pickup installed, and I went ahead and I recorded all of my sound demos yesterday, and today I'm coming back to kind of shoot some of the more finer details about what this guitar is and why I picked it. And, after I talk about it a little bit, we'll go ahead and we'll listen to the sound clips. But for now, let's just talk about some of the main features on this particular guitar. Okay, now as you can see, it's this super deep red, I think they call it like a translucent cherry finish. And you can see in the grain pattern, this is a full mahogany build guitar, three-piece mahogany body, three-piece mahogany neck. You flip it around to the back, same thing going on here. It's just a really well done finish and it looks really cool. Kind of reminiscent of the old vintage Gibson SGs. Obviously, this guitar is based off of Gibson Les Paul Special. The one thing that really drew me to this guitar is its simplicity. It is a single humbucker, single volume knob, and that's it. Now, LTD had already released a much higher spec version of this guitar, the EC-01 flat top, and that one comes with a few more bells and whistles. It has a recessed bridge, stainless steel frets. I believe it has a Graphtec nut, and it may or may not have locking tuners. I'd have to look that one back up. But either way, there's a few things about this one that make it a little bit more budget friendly. Standard Tune-O-Matic style bridge, nickel frets, pretty standard hardware. But honestly, the tuners on this one are machined really well and they feel really good. I'm not even sure if I'm going to put locking tuners on this one just because I kind of like the feel of them without it. Additionally, the more expensive model comes with a rosewood fretboard. This is a roasted Jatoba fretboard, but if you can look in the light here, to me, this is a pretty dark fretboard for being roasted Jatoba. And I don't think this is a stained fretboard. I think this is just a darker grade of the Jatoba. But online, when you look at these guitars, some of them come with pretty light fretboards. And I was a little bit afraid of that because having a really light fretboard up against this red finish probably would have looked a little bit odd. Now, against a black finish, maybe not so bad, but again, I'm really happy with the overall color of the fretboard on here being roasted Jatoba. Beyond that, it comes standard with this, generic humbucking pickup, and to be honest, this pickup doesn't sound bad. In fact, you'll hear in the demo that it's got a pretty nice chunk and a pretty good heft. It also has, obviously, a pretty decent output. I think it's somewhere around the 15K range. And, for what it's worth, unless you really had to, put something in that you really wanted, and, like I did with this, I just wanted to see what this sounded like, you probably wouldn't even have to touch this thing. This thing sounds pretty good. Now, the one drawback about the stock pickup is the coil split option on it. It's a little okay. It doesn't quite give you that full single coil tone. It's just not as good as some other pickups that are out there that you could probably get a split coil tone from. And beyond that, there's just not much else to this guitar. But one of the things I do like about this one is the pitch between the bridge and the nut here. It's not as dramatic as some other Les Paul style guitars like the Epiphones or even the Gibsons, where you have a much more dramatic slope. This is pretty modern, kind of low profile, and I really like that too. So this guitar was actually one of two particular budget-friendly LTD models that I was looking at. The other one was the M200DX, and I was planning on potentially putting some Seymour Duncan alt metal blackout pickups in that one. But when I really got down to the nitty-gritty of what I liked about, the guitars themselves, this one stood out mainly because of the build, like what the materials are that it's made out of. The style, I am a single cut fan, and some people might care about this or not. These guitars are made in Indonesia. The M200DXs are made in China. I personally haven't found any real discrepancy between the two countries of origin, but that is something that some people might take into consideration. Additionally, I really wanted to try out the Slug. So the Slug pickup on paper clocks in at about 47.1 kiloohms DC resistance. You're probably thinking that sounds like an error because, How? Well, the bobbins and the winds are longer. There's just a lot of coil here. These are full raw ceramic blades. And I think when you hear the sound clips, you're going to notice that this isn't just a louder pickup. It's not just like a pickup that overly outputs a signal that clips everything. What it really is there's a bit more saturation, a bit more aggression, and you get kind of like a compressed, like a natural compression, but it's pretty dynamic to the your picking style. So unlike an active pickup that kind of has like this preamp that's boosting the signal up to a specific level, and then as it hits a certain level, it kind of compresses to keep it from clipping. This pickup, being passive, is very dynamic in response to your playing style, but as you go harder, you'll notice that the compression and some of the attack and kind of punch of the pickup is a bit harder and kind of slams the front of the amp a little bit more than what you would expect. So we'll see what that sounds like. So now I'm just going to cut over to the playing demo. First, we're going to listen to the original stock pickup, and then you'll see I go install this guy, and then we'll listen to what the Slug sounds like in the guitar. All right, guys, so I'm out here in the garage. I got my Engel Fireball 25 KT77 hooked up because it has one of the more high headroom clean channels. I just kind of want to see what this guitar can do stock, and then we'll move over to after I install the Slug pickup, and we'll see how that changes the tone, if at all. So first up, here's the clean tone, just going through my Mesa 412, and no boost, nothing, no overdrive, nothing like that, just the clean tone. So right away, this pickup has a bit of bite to it. It's definitely got some output. I didn't measure it with my multimeter, but if I had to guess, it has to be at least in like the 15 range. Either way, it kind of breaks up a little bit, especially on an amp like this that has such headroom on the clean channel. It actually has a nice kind of pushed PAF sound. It's got a little bit of the top end sparkle, but it's got a little bit of that mid-range too that you'd expect from like something like a Seymour Duncan JB or something. Now the one thing that's a little bit disappointing with this particular pickup is the coil split. It's just okay. So here's the full humbucker. And then here's the coil split. Definitely not bad. I wouldn't say it's a bad tone. Just for a coil split, I tend to like a little bit more of that kind of Strat, kind of like real single coil sound. This has quite a bit of meat to it. So maybe for like solos or leads where you want a little bit more cut, but you want to keep that retention of the low end and the low mids, it's not a bad option, but you can tell that the coil split on this isn't super dynamic compared to the actual humbucker. So let me move on to a lead tone or a crunchy kind of high gain tone. Honestly, that's not a bad sound at all. If it wasn't for the fact that I really just wanted to try out the Slug, I might actually keep this pickup in this guitar and just have it as kind of a nice kind of middle ground kind of guitar. Has a good response. It's lacking a little bit of the mid-range that I like to hear when I'm picking, especially really hard chuggy stuff. But for the most part, it's all there. Even in the low end, it's not super tubby. And even if you engage a boost, Yeah, for a single pickup that, you know, comes stock on a lower end guitar, that's a decent sound. If I had to critique it just a little bit, like I said, there's a little bit of a boxiness on the top end mids, and then there's a little bit of that like crispy kind of high thing that kind of comes through, so it doesn't really smooth out, but it's a ceramic pickup. That's pretty typical for ceramic magnet pickups, and I'm not, you know, I really don't find a fault in that. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and install the Slug pickup, and we'll come back and we'll listen to that, and we'll see if it sounds any better, worse, or just different in general. So, see you in a minute. All right, so I'm changing the pickups right now, and I just want to give you a sense of what the gut shot on this looks like. All right, so as you can see, super simple, nothing to it, just a single push-pull, very just run-of-the-mill. If you get this guitar, just know this is going to be an easy-peasy one to kind of mess with. All right, guys, so I got the Slug installed. I have it set to my normal pickup height, which is around 2 millimeters. The internet says I should probably lower it, but we're going to see what it sounds like first with it at, you know, the normal height. So again, I'm just on the clean channel, and levels are still the same. So here's the clean channel through the ingle. So right away, it's just a lot of everything. There's a lot more compression and saturation. And when I measured this pickup, it came in at like 48.6 DCR, which is absurd. And I can hear every bit of that. So, I mean, it's almost like having an overdrive on. Yeah, I don't know if you could really clean up this tone, you know, even pulling the gain back. I mean, that's fine, and it's a little bit it's cleaner, but it lacks, you know, the actual presence of the pickup when you turn the amp gain that far down, even on the split coil here. So with the split coil, it's a little bit more in your face forward, a little bit better of a split coil sound than that other pickup in terms of how it breaks it apart. But overall, on the clean channel, this is just a monster. It really is just rattling everything. Now, it doesn't have like a whole lot of like really sub low end like woofiness. It's not really muddy, even though it's got a bit more saturation. I don't feel like it's mudding out when I'm hitting it hard or playing really hard. I still hear the definition in the notes. So let me move on to the lead channel, because that's what I think we're all here for. Now, it's not super tight. Like, I'll say that. It's got a very, like, low, mid kind of roundness. It's not flubby either. It's kind of got this heft to it. I don't even know how to describe it. It's a little bit rounder than, you know, other pickups that are much lower output, obviously. But it definitely has that extra aggression. Like, you put on an overdrive, but you didn't put on like a Tube Screamer overdrive. You put on like a Klon or some other kind of more meaty circuit, you know, in front of the amp. And if I turn up the gain on the amp and maybe add in some more mids, pull back the treble. It's got a good texture, but I do think I'm going to take the recommendation of the internet and lower the pickup a little bit. All right, so I lowered it down. It's more like in the 3mm range, so let's see what that sounds like. Okay, yeah, I do like it scaled back just a little bit. Maybe come up just a tad on the pickup. Definitely bring up the upper treble end of the pickup a little bit more, just because I like that to ring out a little bit. I find when setting pickup height, it really does benefit to use your ears and do it kind of as you listen, because to me that sounds even better. The 3mm was a little bit too backed off for what I was hearing initially, and the 2mm is a little bit too much. So right in the middle, about 2.5, I think I'm golden on this pickup. Let me go back to the clean channel to see what that sounds like. Still got that saturated kind of compressed sound, but what I'm hearing more is a little bit more balance, lowering the pickup. Still got the clarity, and it sounds really good on the lead channel. And, you know, hell, let me add a Tube Screamer and just see what happens. That's just mean as hell. Tube Screamer off. If I add the licked larym, and let me add the swollen pickle, blend that into the licked larym audio. Nasty AF. Let me turn off the pickle, just do the straight licked larym. Fantastic. I love it. This is a cool setup. I'm going to keep it like this for a while until I get some other hair up my ass to go, hey, let me try a different pickup, because single pickup platform guitars are great. This plays phenomenal. And I don't know if you guys are out there looking for a budget, you know, Les Paul style thing with a single pickup. Can't do much better than something like this. I would go for it. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and link this down below to my Zounds affiliate link if you want to check it out. That's where I got this from, Zounds. I got the pickup from Zounds. Everything was from Zounds, so check that out. Go ahead, like, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. I'm going to keep playing on this insanely high output pickup on this insanely gorgeous guitar.